Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is Red Hot Takes, a brand new show where we're going to be bringing Manchester United content creators together to talk about Manchester United. And who, of course, would we start with? Only the one and only Adam, aka Tom Aldino. How we doing, man? All good?
All good, Jack. All good. Excited to talk about this football club. Excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this.
Happy days.
The season has been a bit,
hit and miss,
a bit grim, but
absolutely.
Look, I'm excited to delve into things and talk about
100%. Appreciate it. Yeah, and look, like I said, Adam is going to be a regular contributor to this as well, and we're going to be getting more people on as the weeks go on. We have a few different guests lined up, so yeah. But look, we're going to talk about everything Manchester United, guys. We're going to talk about the season. We're going to be talking about who stays in the summer. We're going to be talking about Amorim, INEOS, the interview with Gary Neville, the new stadium, who pays for it, and we'll talk a little bit about Thursday night as well. If you are new to the channel, guys, do hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. It helps the channel out an awful lot, and do get your comments into the live chat as well. I see we've got Gavin in there, Cobra. Let us know what you think in the live chat, guys, and we'll get to as many of them as well as we can. Right, Adam, let's rock and roll. I mean, where else do we start? You know, we'll keep it as broad as possible, and it's great to have you on and have, you know, say people who listen to my channel have somebody else's opinion. But look, obviously, I think I know where you're going to go with this first question, but talk to me about United season. Try and sum it up. And is there any positives to take out of it?
No, absolutely not. This season has been, and look, in the summer, I'll never forget it. I was so optimistic. Like, people at the time, like including myself, I thought INEOS did a great bit of business with the transfers that we were making. I thought Lenny Euro, I think when we signed Lenny Euro, we signed Zirkzee before it, and then Lenny Euro 2 days later or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's a bit of a change. Do you know, that doesn't regularly
happen very fast. Yeah,
very fast. And then we signed, you know, a couple of more players, and we signed Delict, we signed Mazwari, and I was thinking, oh, okay, like this is a bit of a change here, you know. And I went to the first game against Fulham. I was at the game, and the amount of like optimism going into that game, and you know, when Zirkzee scored the last minute winner, I was like,
deadly,
title charge, yo. No, it was it was just false belief, really. I didn't think we were going to be back straight away. You know, I thought we would have done better than we did last season, you know, but it's just been a disaster. You know, it's been a disaster from start to finish. You know, the amount of losses we've had this season, especially at home. Like, you would kind of expect it away, but home, like some of the performances, like there's probably been about 2 or 3 good performances this season, in my opinion. There hasn't been a lot to be like bragging about, you know, but it's been abysmal, absolutely abysmal. And for Manchester United to be in a relegation kind of battle, it's fucking like, it's absolutely disgraceful to have a club of our stature in and around that mix with the likes of Leicester and Ipswich and Wolves. Lads. I mean,
but what do you put it down to, man? Do you put it down to, you know, is it a hangover of mistakes from the past? Is it, you know, changing managers mid-season? Is it a concoction of them all? What's, you know, if you were to dip your finger in the water, what would it taste like?
I think keeping Ten Hag, looking back on it, was probably the wrong decision.
Yeah.
You know, an FA Cup really did, you know, right over the cracks of everything that happened last season, because it stems from last season as well, because it's the same group of players. And obviously changing to Ruben Amorim, and, you know, what I don't understand is we didn't back Ruben Amorim in the January transfer window. He was stuck with the same kind of players. Okay, we signed Dargu and, you know, players like that, and Aiden Heaven and Cheeto. But, like, I kind of put it down to, like, the players as well, because these are the same group of players that have gotten every manager that has been there before them sacked, you know. And I was one to think that Ten Hag wasn't good enough towards the end, but then you're seeing what's happening with Ruben Amorim, and it's the same level of shit, even worse. It's probably even worse than it was with Ten Hag before he obviously got sacked. So if you want my honest opinion, I genuinely don't know what like the problem stems from. Like I think INEOS and the Glazers have, especially the Glazers, have put this club into the ground. I really have. And when you have a structure around these players with a training ground that has been there for the last, I don't know how many years, when you see the stadium, which, you know, we'll talk about the new stadium in a minute, but when you see the stadium, you know, the waterfalls, the rats infesting the ground, you see like the Scousers infesting the pitch. It's, you know, it's like, it's so, there's no real good structure around the football club. And, you know, and then you have players that don't really care. I know for a fact there's players in there that do not care. Like,
Yeah,
you can see it on the pitch.
week in, week out, can't you?
Yeah, you can see week in, week out. Like, you see it with Rashford as well, for example. And look, he's doing okay at Aston Villa. I don't think he's tearing up trees, but you see players that genuinely don't care. And yes, I would put it down to two reasons. I would put it down to the structure around the football club that has been there since the Glazers have been there. And it stems from, obviously, the players not really wanting to give 100% every game. Like, they don't.
Yeah.
That is absolutely disgraceful as a Manchester United
And
player.
I think you make a good point, and I think both of them issues are linked, because if you talk about the mistakes of the past and you talk about the players not caring, I think it all stems back to good recruitment. And I don't think we've had good recruitment, you know, obviously since, you know, the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson left. And I think, again, I've said it so many times on my own live watch-alongs and news shows and whatever the case may be, that bar maybe Zirkzee, the other four, Yoro, De Ligt, Matraoui, and Ugarte, have been our best players this season. You know, so, you know, when you look at the likes of INEOS coming in, and, you know, they've had one transfer window pretty much under their belt, you know, and I think they've done a good job in it now. And look, you mentioned there the January transfer window. You know, I think, and I'd like to know what you think on this, but I think the reason why we didn't go for anyone and didn't really sign anybody in January is because they want and hope that they can go hell for leather in the summer. And you tend to be able to get your first choice targets easier in the summer. Do you think, you know, is there any validity to that?
But the thing is with that, yeah, and look, I think that is definitely valid. What you said there, I think, like, they tend to do that. They tend not to really go for anyone in January, and they always say then at the end of every January transfer window, oh, we'll go for it now in the summer. We'll go and get these players, our number one targets. Yippee! But we're in dire state right now. We're in a bad way right now. So we needed to sign someone we needed to sign a forward. You can't get rid of Marcus Rashford and Anthony and then not sign a replacement. It's unforgivable. You can't do that. And leaving us with four forwards, one that's injured at the moment in Amad Diallo, who has been our best player this season, in my opinion, and is now up for the rest of the season. Leaving us with Højlund, Zirkzee, and Garnacho. I mean, come on. Like, it's not. And if one of them gets injured, you're then potentially putting a midfielder into one of the 10 roles. Do you know? So it's not sustainable. It's not. They needed to look at that. And another reason as well, and it was mentioned in the interview with Sir John Ratcliffe, apparently we have no money now. We barely have any money. So you could relate it back to that as well. And but again, that goes back to the Glazers and the state they've put us in. But
yeah, absolutely.
I think it really stems to, you know, the fact that we should have signed someone in January because we needed to. You can't just sell two players like that and then not sign a forward. Like, it could have been anyone, and I would have taken it because at least it's a replacement. Do you know? Yeah. But it's just not good enough when you don't sign.
Yeah, anyone. And I think Liverpool. Oh, lovely. Liverpool have equalised, but it's offside. Happy. Anyway. So, like, I think. Yeah, look, I agree with you. I agree with you in a way. You know, you can't not. Well, it's not that you can't not, because we haven't, you know what I mean, signed anybody in January, a striker. Like, when you look at it in the past, you know, and the last few January transfer windows, you know, we've ended up with Weghorst and Sabitzer and who was the other chap, Igalo, you know what I mean? So in a way, I know where you're coming from, where you want to get a striker in the door, and you need goals in your team, and especially when Ahmad gets injured. Now Ahmad got injured once the window was closed, obviously, but he scored 42% of our goals this season. You know what I mean? That's what
you know what I mean. Like,
and even that wasn't a lot. But again, I think the January window. I think the success or failure of the January window will depend on how successful the summer one is. You know what I mean? If we end up getting an Osman or a Gyökeres or, a first choice striker, and they say, well, that's why we didn't go out in January and get one, then I go, right, okay, I'm all right with that. But I think only time will tell. You know what I mean? And I think that's where it's hard. You're asking Man United fans to be patient when that's all we've heard over the last 12, 13 years. You know what I mean? And that is difficult as well. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, look, talking about the squad in general then, Adam, I mean, who out of this squad stays for you? Like, obviously there's probably not a lot, but, do you, let's put it this way then. Who do you keep? Oh, you still there? Oh, you're there. I get you. Are you there?
What?
Are you there?
I don't know what happened here, man. My hair.
You're there. I see you. Yeah, you're there.
What happened there, Sam? I don't know what happened there.
I have no idea. You just froze and then you disappeared for a second. But you're back. It's all good. It's all good.
Oh,
I'll repeat the question. Who do we out of this squad? Because I went out. I was speaking for about 15 seconds there, and you obviously didn't hear any of it.
What the fuck happened?
So I was going to say, who do you get rid of out of this squad? But I think it's probably easier to say who would you keep out of the current Manchester United squad. Because if we're talking about who would you get rid of, we don't want to be here all night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Who would I keep? Fuck. Yeah. Okay. If we're starting off with kind of the basic ones, I think Ahmad is a non-negotiable. I think Bruno is a non-negotiable. Because I think Bruno, to be fair to him, I still stand by this. I don't think he's a captain. I don't look at some of the defeats he's been involved in. I just don't think, as a captain, I don't think he should be the captain. But definitely, like, should be still here. Absolutely.
We would be probably in the relegation battle if it wasn't for him this season.
Oh, absolutely. So he's a must keep. I would keep. See, this is where I get tough. I would keep Mazwari as well. I think he's a quality.
Yeah, well, let's go back to front. Like, if we're talking about Onana, would you keep or sell him?
Sell.
Yeah. Again, I don't think it'll be top priority, to be honest with you, because there are so many other areas that need fixing. But
he is so bad.
Yeah. If we're talking about the back, then you're talking about Lindelof is already going to be gone.
Yeah, goodbye.
I think De Ligt has been brilliant. Yoro's been brilliant. Mazraoui has been brilliant. You're talking about then maybe Maguire. I think Maguire could play a squad role, maybe. I've always said I have no problem with Maguire, as a professional, and he's been so professional, keeping his head down, working hard when all of the criticism has been coming at him. But
yeah,
I just don't want to be over reliant on him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think a squad kind of role for Maguire is best suited because, is he good enough to start? You look at it this season and say, yeah, but that's probably because of the bad position we're in. We're seeking for kind of people, like we're desperate for people to kind of help us at the moment. And when you're turning to Maguire, it's not really great.
Yeah.
But as a squad, I wouldn't mind it. But one player that absolutely needs to go, and I do love him as a player, but he is absolutely not sustainable, and that's Luke Shaw.
Absolutely.
Needs to go because I love him as a player. He's a very good player, but he doesn't play.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I've mentioned this an awful lot on my channel as well, is the fact that, the sentimentality aspect has to go from United fans, and from every team should be like it. Like, if you go back to the days when we were actually winning things in league titles and stuff, the likes of, like all the way back to the 90s where Paul Ince left and Kanchelskis left and Hughes left. And everyone was, oh, what? But they went on to win the double the next year with all of the young lads, you know. Yeah, I mean, Luke Shaw, I done a TikTok on Luke Shaw a couple of weeks ago where we calculated his earnings while he's been injured. And we spent 58.5 million on him while he's been injured. So out of the 11 years that he's been at Manchester United, he's only in, now I think this is league games. Out of the 11 league campaigns that he's been there, he's only played 3.5 seasons and he's been injured for 7.5. So it's been 52 million we've paid him to be injured. You know what I mean? So it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. Yeah.
It's just absolutely shocking. Like, you know, so he's a definite goal. And
what about that lad that plays right wing back who gets minus 10,000 a few weeks?
Fucking God. Did you see what he did at the weekend, by the way? See what he did at the weekend? He won the ball back beautifully well, right? Still ran it out of play. Now you're going to turn around to me and be like, what about his cross from Maswari? I thought it was Bruno Fernandes, okay?
You did, in fairness. Yeah.
But even so, like, the state of him this season, I'm sorry, he is tragic. Tragic.
Yeah. And look, I agree with you. And it's disappointing the fact that, like, he was our player of the season last year.
Yeah, that's what shocked me the most about him this season. He was definitely our best player last season by a mile. So consistent last season, but now he's so consistently shit. You know, it's mad. Like, do you know? But I genuinely don't know what to put it down to with Dallo. I don't. But
yeah, well, look. I mean, I think if I was talking about him, I would say it's a change of role. You know what I mean? There's a big difference playing wing back than there is playing fullback. Fullback is all about defending, one-on-ones, win your tackles. You know, and you know, back up the play more than anything else. Whereas if you're a wing back, you're expected to be a fullback, you're expected to be a right winger, and you're expected to be a right forward, all in the same game. And he can't do that. You know what I mean? But look, let's moving it on to midfield. Look, I'm going to rattle through these because I know you'll agree with me. Menu, Ugarte. We obviously mentioned Bruno, Collier. Yeah, all of them easy stays in my opinion. Go on.
I think he should go out on loan.
Who?
Collier.
Oh, Collier, maybe so. But I think that all depends on how many players we get in midfield in the summer. You know what I mean? I think if we get a straight swap, say Casemiro out and another player in, I still think Collier will get a lot of game time as a backup. You know what I mean?
Maybe. Yeah.
So then you're talking Casemiro, you're talking Mason Mount, you're talking. Who else have we got in there that you think we should move on?
Eriksen,
yeah. I love him as a footballer, but look, legs are gone.
Yeah, Casemiro, Mount, Eriksen for me are like have to be gone in my opinion. They're not like Casemiro. His legs are gone. Eriksen's legs are gone. They're not the same players they once were. And Mason Mount doesn't play. He's injured all the time. So it's not sustainable again. So three of them need to go. Absolutely.
Yeah. Forward line, then we're talking about, obviously we're keeping Ahmad. What do you make around the whole Garnacho situation? Like obviously there's been talk of bids coming in for him in January gone, and Chelsea are sniffing around him. And United are supposedly putting a £60 million price tag on his head. If United got an offer of 60 million, would you take it?
Yeah. I think don't get me wrong. I have been a lover of Garnacho for quite a while.
Clarify what you mean by that now.
He can go on to do great things, but I think the role that he's been asked to play in right now in this 3-4-3 kind of system doesn't really suit him. Because in a 3-4-3, if you look at the way kind of Chelsea played under Conte, it's 2 10s. And like, Hazard was a winger, but you could see him playing narrow quite a lot. And, he was playing as kind of a 10 role. Pedro, again, another winger, but he was playing as a 10. They were playing as 10s. So, again, now Garnacho could maybe evolve into a player like that. Maybe. You don't know. He's still very young. And I still think he has a lot of potential. He's a very good in and out winger. But at the moment, he's not. He's in the pile of shit. In the pile of shit, and he can't do well if other players aren't really helping him. Now, don't get me wrong. I think his attitude in the last couple of weeks hasn't been great, but I still think there's a player there. But I think it's going to be 60 million for Garnacho. Like at the moment,
I don't think you can turn that down. I think if a 60 million bid comes in for him, in terms of the fact that, when you're talking about PSR and FFP is pure profit, but just going back to what Jim Ratcliffe, he was asked specifically about Garnacho and Manu in one, I think the interview with the BBC yesterday, and he said, we're not going to sell our academy players to make money, So you don't know what way that's going to go. And look, I think it's going to be a big couple of months for Garnacho between now and the end of the season. I mean, he gets into really good positions. I think if he could just fine tune his finishing a little bit, he would easily be on 15 goals this season. You know what I mean?
So. Saw what he did last season as well. He was probably one of our most important players last season. And to be fair to him, on Sunday against Arsenal, I thought he had a good performance. I thought he played well. He was pressing, he was winning the ball back really well, and that's something he kind of needs to improve on as well, off the ball work. But again, lads, he's still young. I would still give him time towards the end of the season, and hopefully we see a change in him, because I still believe there's a player there, man. I know the last couple of seasons, but just give him time.
Absolutely. Talk to me a little bit about Højlund and Zirkzee. Obviously, look, struggling for goals. Here on this channel, I've been talking about Højlund. I feel sorry for him. I really do. We know he's able to score goals. He scored 16 goals in his first season as a 20-year-old leading the line for United, when he shouldn't be relied on as much. But he's clearly going through a really difficult time. And did you see? I don't know if you saw the clip with Peter Schmeichel outside Old Trafford after the game the other night, and he looked like he was nearly in tears. You know what I mean? What's your opinion on Højlund specifically? Do you think he deserves maybe time to be a backup where he can just learn a bit more, or do you think maybe the quality is not there?
Yeah, it as you said there, like he probably is going through a tough time. You can tell, by the way his body language is on the pitch, and his confidence on Sunday. Like when he got the ball to potentially make it 2-1 against Arsenal, you could just tell his first touch was off, and he didn't really have the expressness to go and like maybe take a shot maybe quickly.
The instinct to do it, where you're a lad who would be scoring every week would have it naturally.
Yeah, and maybe he could have shot with his right foot, but again, it is what it is. Like the thing is with Højlund, you said it there, we relied on him too much, I think, in the last 2 seasons, whereas he's 19, 20. He should be learning off someone who has, more experience, has scored goals and stuff like that. Like I would love if I'd love to have Cavani back in his kind of little like Man United time, and he could have learned off maybe someone like him, but unfortunately he doesn't have that. He's relied on too heavily. Now he has Zirkzee in, who is a completely different profile, completely different profile of forward. So he's more of like a 4-9 kind of player, in my opinion, Zirkzee. So when you have 2 different profiles, it's kind of hard, and I think Højlund, look, do I think he's good enough right now? No. Unfortunately, no. And I think paying 72 million as well is probably going to go down as one of the worst bits of businesses I've seen in a long time in transfer. But at the same time, I do feel sorry for him, because he hasn't learned off anyone at the football.
Yeah, and like even like if we're talking about going out and getting an established striker in the summer, and I know money's going to be tight, but if you do go out and get an Osman or a Gyökeres or whoever the case may be, even an Delap or an Mbeumo, someone, I'm not saying I would be blown away by them 2 signings, but he would then have somebody to go, all right, well, look, I'm not the fucking main man here now, you know what I mean? And I can, maybe come on and play 1 in 3 games and so on and so forth, you know what I mean? But in terms of Zirkzee, what's your opinion? Because he had a very, very rough start to his United career, didn't he? And I think he's turning it around a bit. He's kind of, I think people are realizing that, look, he's not a number 9. His link-up play is very good. His first touch reminds me of Berbatov. You know what I mean? What's your thoughts been on him the last few weeks?
Yeah, again, like when I was at the first game of the season, he scored that goal. you know, I was thinking we're going to get the new Ruud van Nistelrooy, you know. But like, he did go through a rough patch, and when he came off against Newcastle that time in the first 30 minutes, you could tell like it was like, oh, you know, like real moment for him. And I thought he wouldn't recover from that. I won't lie, because again, it dampens your confidence so much when you get taken off in half an hour. Like, but he's recovered, and it's kind of like a redemption arc, really, for him. Like, I think he's playing really well. He's putting in 7, potential 8 out of 10 performances now. And again, you said he's linking up the play well. He's playing in a role that maybe suits him a bit better. And although I don't think he played that great against Arsenal on Sunday, the last couple of months he has improved. And I don't think anyone can deny that. And, you know, he's a kind of little flair player. I love the little nutmegs he does as well. Like, you know, these little moments. So, look, again, it's another player that needs time to settle in and to improve. You know, and hopefully next season we could see him a lot more consistent, you know, goal involvements and just better performances. Because we're seeing better performances. It's just about getting those kind of, like, people like you know, stats, whatever, you know. But he is playing better. So Zirkzee, I would definitely keep an eye on. You know, wants to watch, I would say, about Zirkzee, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. Talk to me a little bit about Amorim then, Adam, because, you know, look, he's come in, he's changed everything, you know, from trying to change the mentality, trying to change the, you know, the attitudes, the professionalism, you know, then the tactics and the on-field performances, you know, all the while, you know, there's protests going on in the background. You know, there's a lot of, you know, just unhappy people with cuts and so on. And we'll get onto that in a moment. But how do you rate his first, what is he there? He's there about 4 months now. I mean, 5 wins out of, what is it? Is it 17 games, I think, maybe? I mean, on paper, it doesn't sound good. But, you know, what have you made of over his first few months?
Well, look, if I had the approach I had maybe last year or maybe 9 months ago, I'd be like, get rid of him, get him out. But I'm actually understanding of how good of a coach he actually is. Because you saw what he did at Sporting Lisbon. You saw what he did to Manchester City before he came to Manchester United. But you saw what he did. He revolutionised Sporting Lisbon, you know, with this free kind of way of playing. But he plays a different kind of way to it. And I was so optimistic when he came in. I still am optimistic, by the way, about Ruben Amorim. I still think he can go on things. And look, he is a young coach. He's a very young coach. I think he's only 40, you know. So I think people, honestly, and the thing is with Ruben Amorim, we brought him in November. Okay, you bring him into November, you bring him into this pile of shit. I was not expecting a manager bounce like we did with Ali that time, you know, a couple of years ago. I was not expecting that. I was expecting maybe some better performances in a way. You know, maybe the new signings could have, you know, stepped it up a bit and helped the team or whatever. But it just hasn't. It hasn't clicked at all. It hasn't clicked with these players. And it's not going to click with these players because it's the same players. You know, take out the new signings, it's still the same players. So it's just not good enough, you know. But at the same time, he didn't get back in January either. You know, he got rid of forwards. And look, I think he handled the Marcus Rashford situation very well. I really do. He's a very honest guy. He comes across as a very honest person, you know, maybe a little bit too honest, but that's a good thing. I think that's a great thing because
some of these players need it.
They need it. They need it. They need a bollocking. He's setting the standard. You don't have Ten Hag coming out and talking about, you know, making up shit, saying like, oh, these are my players, I'll back these players. Really? He's not going to do that. Ruben Amorim isn't going to do that. And that's a great thing because he wants to be successful at Manchester United. He wants to be successful. He wants to win titles. He wants to win the big trophies. So I'm backing Ruben Amorim all the way. Yeah. And hopefully in the summer, we see the summer transfer window that we're expecting where we can get rid of players, you know, get rid of players that are not good enough and then bring in the players that he wants. Because that's what we didn't do in the past. We didn't bring in the players that managers wanted. Have to do with this guy. We have to.
100%. I agree with you. Yeah, that's basically what I've been saying for a good while now. And it's strange to see some of the online kind of perceptions or you know, attitudes towards him where, you know, people are already saying Amorim out, he's out of his depth and so on and so forth. And, you know, I got into it with a lad on Twitter last week or whenever it was. And I just said, oh yeah, because the next manager will get it right. You know what I mean? Or the next manager will fix Manchester United. And how long is it going to last? You know what I mean? You got to pick one and stick with him. And, when you see I suppose how highly he was thought of throughout Europe in the summer, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that we've got a good coach that, and we've got to get out of this cycle as well of sacking managers every 2.5 years, because nothing is going to change. We already have, and I mentioned it when INEOS came in. I said, they're going to clear out this squad. Now it's going to take time. And I said, you will have a hangover from the old regime for a few seasons, and I think Ruben Amorim coming in is he's going to play a role in that, where we've got a good manager and we've got a good coach and we need to back him, and we need to say, no, this is the guy that we want. We're going to back him for 2, 3, 4 years, whatever the case may be. I mean, if the greatest manager of all time didn't win a league title for 6 years, then, why should Ruben Amorim do it in any less time? You know what I mean?
Look, as much as I think, then that's so true about Ferguson. Like, he didn't win the league title for 6 years. Do you know? But when you actually give him time, and there was a moment where he finished, I think, 13th, 14th in that time. Yeah. So that could happen this season. So I would, and again, as much as I think they're overrated, and I think he's an overrated manager, Mikel Arteta got given time, but he made Arsenal better in terms of performance levels. And he's there. Title. Look, they did battle it, but they're performing better. They've a much better squad, and I genuinely think we have to do that with Amorim. We have to give him to develop what he wants to do with Manchester United, setting that culture, setting that new culture, that new standard where if you fuck up, off you go, and if you don't want to be here, off you go. Like, we need to set that standard now, because we can do it with Rashford. We have to do it with multiple other players as well, because there is players that don't want to be here. So get rid of them. Don't want to be here. It's what Ruben Amorim wants. Give him what he wants in the summer. This is what we need to do now. It's so important, because if we don't do Amorim, honestly, just shut down the football club.
Turn off the lights on the way out there.
Honestly, because it's press.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right, you're lagging it just a little bit. So just give me 1 sec. I'm just going to change your settings here. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I think we're good. Right then, look, let's talk a little bit about INEOS then, Adam, because I'd be interested, because I think from what I'm seeing online is that the fan base, maybe not divided. I think an awful lot, and I was listening to that fucking Goldbridge last night. I don't know why I put him on. He's fucking annoying the shit out of me lately. He's just so negative. Just for no reason. You know what I mean? Like there's positives in everything, and you can find him if you want to see him. But he's talking about, like, every single outlet today was talking about how positive the interview between Gary Neville and Jim Ratcliffe was. But Goldbridge just jumped on because he doesn't like Gary Neville. He started fucking shouting and roaring, oh, no, this is terrible and disgrace and this and that and the other. The fan base, there's a lot of people that are already saying INEOS out. You know what I mean? Now, 99.999% of the fan base are in agreement that we want the Glazers out, of course. What's your take on their first season or their first 12 months? Obviously they've made a few mistakes, Ashworth and Ten Hag, like we mentioned already, but do you think we're in good hands, or, is there concerns there?
There is concerns. There is. Look, I was a bit positive when they came in, because look, it was only 25% that they were buying of Manchester United, putting a stake in, but it's something different. It's the footballer side of things. That's what we got told. The football side of things now is INEOS. Like, that's what we got told. And what Sir Jim Ratcliffe has done, now, I wouldn't even say like last season when they came in, what he's done this season in terms of off the pitch stuff, it's not been great. It's been a bit of shit show, taking food away from the staff. Sorry, I'm not having that. I understand the club would run out of money, and that's another thing he said in the interview, that the club would have ran out of money by the end of this year. Manchester United would have ran out of money by the end of the year. top 3 clubs revenue-wise in the world would have ran out of money. My God, right?
Yeah.
And you know, but some of the stuff he's doing to try and like save it, if that's the right way of putting it, trying to save the club from like going bankrupt, is taking food away from staff, increasing ticket prices to 66 quid. I mean, come on, like it's crazy stuff. And then I think it was something said about ex-players. He took money from ex-players, like £40,000.
Yeah.
It's some of the stuff he's doing is crazy. It's crazy. You know, and there was something about the United Foundation as well. I think that's to do with the ex-players, I think. But like, it's a shit show, you know, in terms of that aspect.
Yeah.
But I did watch a bit of the interview, and he does come across as a guy, and this is where like positivity will come in, where he does want to get Manchester United back being the best football club on the planet. And look, the new stadium as well is something to be positive about, because I think the stadium at the moment is rotten.
Yeah.
Rotten at the core. Rats infesting the pitch, waterfalls everywhere on the stands. The back of the stadium looks like a factory. I mean, let's be real here. So, you know, it's a shit show of a stadium. But I think saying that we're going to build a new stadium, 100,000 seater capacity, and seeing the design and you know the format of the stadium is something to be positive about. But what I've made of their first 12 months, it's more bad in my opinion than good. But it could turn good in the future. You have to give them a tiny bit of time. You have to. You can't look. I went a bit, you know, a bit wild a couple of weeks ago saying INEOS out. You know, and look, I'm a very reactionary person. I'm not going to deny it. I am, but like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in the future with this football club. I think the Glazers is a must go, and I'd love to see INEOS maybe in the future buy the whole football club and see what happens from there.
Yeah,
but,
and like
you know,
I've said that about INEOS a lot on here, is that, you know, I think they're setting a precedent of how they're going to run the club in the future, you know. And you look at any, you know, top organization or, you know, company or whatever the case may be, if money stops being made or money is being lost by a company, who's the first to go? People at the bottom. You know what I mean? And it's unfortunate that is the case, but that, you know, that's the way the corporate world is. I do believe that, and I do think he'll eventually get to the higher echelons of the club in terms of, you know, scaling back money and so on and so forth, and probably not scaling back money, but streamlining the business, you know. And we've already seen it a little bit with, you know, I don't believe that it was all Amorim trying to get Rashford away from Manchester United. I think a lot of that was, you know, you could say Radcliffe is looking at Rashford here on 375 grand a week or whatever it is and going, what? How many goals has he got? See you later. You know, we know he spoke quite in depth about how idiotic the Casemiro deal was. I think that's the way he's moving. You know what I mean? Like, he hasn't become the richest man in Britain by forking out money that doesn't need to be forked out. But I think, look, there has been things that have been bad decisions, and look, he admitted it in that interview with Neville yesterday that they have made mistakes. You know, Dan Ashworth was one, and Eric Ten Hag. They're the two high profile ones. You know what I mean? But I don't know where you work, Adam, but I certainly don't get free food in my job. You know what I mean? Wait, and I understand.
I don't.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And I understand the angle that a lot of people are looking at. It's Manchester United, you know, billion, you know, £1 million, billions of pounds coming in the door, whatever the case may be. But, you know, the majority of people don't get fucking free food in work. So I can see that side of the argument as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, like, I think they've done good in the transfer market. I think they've done really good in terms of the structure they've put in place behind, say, Ruben Amorim now, with, you know, the likes of not Dan Ashworth, he's gone. Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, you know, Vivell is there now full time, you know, and then you've got the likes of Dave Brailsford as well on the scene. You know, we spoke about it a lot last January remember when they had come in last December, but they said, we're not buying anyone in January. We're doing a review on the club. And I thought that was very smart, because they were saying, we're going to get the structure above right first, because a new striker wasn't going to fix what was wrong with Manchester United, if you know what I mean. You know, and I think that has been a positive from him. But look, there has been mistakes. But yeah, I mean, I think if they continue to sign well in the transfer window, I think everything else will take care of itself. You know, we go back to what we said about half an hour ago. What's the most important thing is recruitment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
because that's something Manchester United have been so bad at. You know,
Yeah.
and wage structure. Oh my fucking God! Like, I've never seen anything like it. Some of the players that are on thousands of pounds a week is abysmal. You know, and that's something that Manchester United have been so poorly at, and that's probably one of the reasons why we could have run out of money by the end of this year. You know, it's just a shit show in terms of, you know, the background. You know, like, and it has been for so many years. You know, like when we had bankers trying to run the football side of things, it all stems back to that. I think people need to actually understand that. It all stems back to people like that, bankers, coming into the football club and trying to run the football side of things. Ed Woodward playing football manager to try and make us successful. Like, I'll never forget what he said about Bastian Schweinsteiger. When you see Bastian Schweinsteiger on the pitch, that's gonna, you know, send shivers up your spine. Yeah, oh yeah, it sent lots of shivers up people's spines. Yeah,
I still go back about Schweinsteiger and that game he had against Liverpool. By that'll do it for me, though. But
yeah, no, that's fair enough.
We just couldn't get him on the pitch regular enough.
Yeah, oh, I know. And look, it is what it is. But it's just an absolute shit show in the background. But hopefully,
when you look at some of the negativity that you know, some people were saying on the back of the interview that Ratcliffe done yesterday, people were saying, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to football. And I said to myself, no, he doesn't. You know what I mean? Because he's not a fucking expert at football. But what has he done? He surrounded himself with people who are. You know what I mean? And we've been asking for that for years now. We just want competent people in important areas of Manchester United. And I think he's done that. You know what I mean? And I think while it hasn't all been positive, I think if you can get the big decisions like that right, I think the rest will hope. Like, if you get, we made 5 signings last summer and we got 4 of them right by the looks of things so far. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And look, and as I said, like, to run a football club properly, it's actually very simple. You just have to, you know, on the football side of things, get the football people in. That's what he's done, and fair play to him. And hopefully this can work out, you know, because you need football people running the football side of things, and then the bankers can run the financial side of things, you know, in terms of like revenue and stuff like that. But it's just it's actually a lot more simpler than you think. But the Glazers just had to run the club into the fucking ground. You know, it's buried at the moment, but hopefully it can rise up again one day. I don't know. But
speaking about rising up, right? There's plans that this is a great segue. There's plans for a new 104,000 seater stadium to rise up out of the ashes in Manchester.
Yeah.
A lot of mixed opinions about it online today. I have to say, people calling it as, you know, a glorified circus, and you know, there's not but clowns going to be playing in it anyway, and so on and so forth. I seen your TikTok, but for anyone who hasn't, let us know what you think about the new design.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it, because Manchester United Stadium is rotten to the core right now. And look, knocking down this stadium will be tough. You know, it will be tough, because the amount of moments that have taken place. I've been there for a lot of moments, you know, a lot of glorious moments that I'll never forget. But it has to be knocked down, lads. I'm sorry. The stadium is genuinely cat. That's the word I would describe it as, cat. It's not great. It's not good enough. You know, when you have rats, and I'll say it again, you know, I sound like a broken record, but when you have, you know, scousers infesting the pitch, when you have waterfalls in the stands, when you have, you know, the back of the stadium looking like a factory, you know, it's not sustainable. You know, same with the training ground. That's another thing that needs to be done, by the way. But
yeah, I think they're working on that at the moment, aren't they? Radcliffe mentioned that it's going to be done by the summer.
Oh, yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Well, that's the start of things. That's the infrastructure. You know, so they're working on infrastructure, which is really good. But that stadium needs to be knocked down. And I'm all for this 100,000 seater stadium. it'll be the best stadium in the world potentially. It'll definitely be the best stadium in the UK. So I'm all for it, lads. And yeah, it looks like a circus. Oh, clowns playing in it. Who gives a fuck? It won't be fucking hilarious when we win a Premier League title in it, will it?
Well, what I made a TikTok today, and it really riled up a lot of Liverpool fans. So supposedly, the three masts that are part of it, the middle one is the middle one. Now this is true. This is actually true. It's part of the document that was released about the whole regeneration, that it will be visible from the outskirts of Liverpool. You know what I mean? So I made a TikTok just saying, you know, all the Liverpool fans looking down to Manchester at the greatest stadium in the world. But look, I mean, it's strange, and I want to come on to this part as well, because I do like the design as well, you know, and you will get stick for it, but you know, hate at the door, never ignored. You know, so who gives a shit? But where in the name of God are we going to pay for this, Adam?
That's the thing I am genuinely puzzled over, because now I saw a lot of people commenting that, and I should have said that maybe in the video, but I was like, yeah, where are we going to get this money? Like, we're talking about the club being potentially out of money by the end of this year, you know, if we didn't do certain things. But where I don't know. We're going to have to kind of be a lot more successful in competitions, maybe, or I don't know, or
I think
puzzled.
I think there is going to have to be more money borrowed, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You know, unless we see, you know, I can kind of put some of the pieces together where, you know, Jim Ratcliffe is coming in. Is he going to come in and always be a minority stakeholder at Manchester United? I don't think he wants that. I think he genuinely wants full control eventually. And I think there probably is a pathway to that we don't know, and that's not public knowledge. And that's maybe, you know, somewhere deep on page 4,000 of the documents that they signed, you know, because why would he be coming in as a minority shareholder and looking to build a new Old Trafford? You know what I mean? If he didn't get the opportunity to be the main owner at some stage, exactly, I think there will have to be money borrowed, you know, and it'll be private investment, whatever the case may be, maybe naming rights, I don't know, you know, but it all depends on that money that potentially may be loaned for a new stadium. Where does that debt go? You know what I mean? Does that go back onto the club, or does Jim Ratcliffe go, no, I'll take it on, you know, my own personal debt, or whatever the case may be? And I think that's something that needs to be clarified very early before a stake is in the ground. I think we need to know who's paying for it, and you know, where are the interest repayments going to land? You know what I mean?
There definitely needs to be some sort of format and plan to this, because you can't. You said it there a minute ago, like he wouldn't have announced these plans if he didn't have a plan behind it, you know. So, you know, in terms of like, you know, a plan needs to be made, you know. So, like, we'll have to see what happens. Like, apparently this new stadium could cost 2 billion.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm talking about. Where are we going to get the money? But it'll be interesting to see what they do. But they need to have something in place. That's a fact.
They need to be transparent with it as well, and you know, let fans and just let the public know, you know what I mean, if they are going to be borrowing money. Right, Adam, before we finish up, want to talk a little bit about Thursday night. Obviously, you know, biggest game of the season for United in the Europa League. Decent enough performance away against Sociedad, and you know, take it back to Old Trafford now with a big opportunity to get into the quarter final. What do you make of how the Europa League has gone? We're still unbeaten in Europe, of course. But big opportunity to get into the quarter final.
Yeah, massive. And again, like when I watched this last week against Real Sociedad, well, first of all, I think the Europa League campaign at the start wasn't going well, but then you look at them, we're unbeaten, as you said. So, you know, who cares? We're still in the last 16, and we do have a massive opportunity of going through on Thursday, because I don't think Real Sociedad are good at all. Like, I was watching this last week against them.
Yeah.
And look, I thought we actually should have won the game. If Dalot squared it to Garnacho, then who knows what could have happened.
Minus 10,000.
Yeah, minus 10,000, yeah. Like, an idiot. Like, square the ball. square the ball. Like, people are blaming Bruno for the penalty against him, you know, and that's fair enough. I'm blaming Dallo because he should have fucking squared it. Idiot, like. Do you know? But look, it is what it is. We drew the game, and you know what I took from it was Real Sociedad are not that good. They're not that good, and we can definitely beat them at Old Trafford. And look,
they will have Zubamendi back, won't they? But I don't know what much of a difference. He's a very good player, but
he's a very good player. But like, it's one player. Yeah. You know, Bruno Fernandes is also a very good player. You know, so like, and look what he's done in the last couple of games. He's really saved us, and we'll be probably heavily reliant on Bruno to do something on Thursday. But again, I'm very confident. And this sounds very weird to say this because I've not. Well, I've said it a couple of times, and it's kind of back to bite me. But like, I'm genuinely confident that we're going to go through on Thursday. I really am, and I've got one message for Real Sociedad: we're going to beat them on Thursday. We're going to beat. No, we are. I'm confident. Fuck it. 3-1.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
3-1.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And
there
hopefully finals and we win that fucking competition. Could you imagine, by the way, winning that competition and finishing 15th? Oh my God.
And ending up with more trophies again this season than Arsenal.
Oh, I really do. I'd love to see it.
Happy days. Adam, I appreciate you coming on as always, man. Really, really enjoyable. And look, we will 100% make it a weekly thing if you're available to do it every Tuesday night. Really enjoy it. And like I said, we'll be getting more people on as always. As the weeks go on. Thanks to everybody for watching as well, guys. I've linked Adam's TikTok in the description of the video. So you haven't already done so, go and follow him. Check him out on Instagram. Have you got YouTube or is it just TikTok?
No, at the moment. I just have TikTok at the moment.
Just TikTok. Perfect. Right. Well, it's in the description of the video anyway. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Smash a like if you haven't already done so on the video. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Do appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.
See you there, lads.